beach-touching shore excursions, alternative dining, all-veranda staterooms, Wi-Fi, and much more. We're very proud to have been named a world's best 2 years in a row by Travel and Leisure readers. Learn more at vikingcruises.com.
If you're a veteran, own a home, and need money for your family, call New Day USA to use your valuable VA home loan benefit.
Thank you, Admiral.
It lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value.
Thank you, Admiral.
With today's rising home values, that can mean more money for you and your family.
Thank you, Admiral.
Money to pay down debts and get financial peace of mind.
Thank you, Admiral.
We'll do everything we possibly can to get you approved.
Call 1-844-383-1571.
Hey, some breaking news and a live look on Capitol Hill. The Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and the Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Joseph Dunford are briefing lawmakers, we believe right now, after the U.S. and its allies launched. We show you this, and maybe we'll go there if they come out. But a senior Israeli military source is telling Fox News. Hear this now. A senior Israeli military source is telling Fox News the strikes were very superficial. And if the goal was to eliminate the dictator Bashar al-Assad's chemical weapons capabilities, the source says, I'm not sure they succeeded. Of course, that wasn't the goal. That was never the stated goal. I mean, Israel would have loved that, but that's not what we were going for, and that's not what happened. Syrian state TV reports international inspectors are now in Douma, the site of last week's suspected chemical attack. Remember, they couldn't get in there for the longest time. But the State Department reports it's not true that they are even there, that they still have not gotten into the town outside the capital of Damascus. Yesterday, the inspectors said Russian and Syrian officials were blocking them from going in, purportedly because of safety concerns. Now, a U.S. official has accused the Kremlin, did so yesterday, of tampering with the evidence there. Today, Russian military officials claim they found materials to make mustard gas in a rebel laboratory in Douma. Remember, the United States supports the rebels in that proxy war between the U.S., Iran, Syria, and Hezbollah and Russia. Russia and Syria have repeatedly denied that there was even a gas attack to begin with, saying opposition activists staged the whole thing. U.S., British, and French officials say they have evidence that Assad unleashed poisonous gas on his own people, killing dozens of civilians, including men, women, and children. Our national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin, is live on this at the Pentagon. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Shep. Well, State Department spokesman Heather Nauert just pushed back on those reports and said that as far as her information, those inspectors are not in Douma. Mattis, Defense Secretary Mattis, on the other hand, has been restrained in what he has said publicly. Before heading to Capitol Hill, Mattis spoke ahead of a meeting with the Albanian defense minister.
The French and the United Kingdom and the United States allies, all NATO allies, we work together to maintain the prohibition on the use of chemical weapons, and that's how we came together. That's why we came together. I hope that this time the Assad regime got the message.
He and General Dunford began briefing the entire House at 2:30 p.m. and then will address the entire Senate 2 hours later. These are closed-door classified meetings on the Syria strike, so we do not expect to hear Mattis and Dunford speak when they are done. I can tell you, however, that Congress was notified by the Pentagon ahead of the strikes through secure channels. From the Pentagon's point of view, the Israeli criticism is unfair. Pentagon officials never claimed to have wiped out all of Assad's chemical weapons sites.
I would say there's still a residual element of the Syrian program that's out there. I believe that we took the heart of it out with the attacks that we accomplished last night. I'm not going to say that they're going to be unable to continue to conduct a chemical attack in the future. I suspect, however, they'll think long and hard about it based on the activities of last night.
In fact, Pentagon officials said from the get-go they chose just 3 sites to avoid killing civilians and Russian forces, Shep.
Jennifer, what do you know about the announcement last night from Syrian state television that that country was under attack again?
Well, for the second time since Saturday, the Syrian military thought it was under attack. Reports from the region Monday night claimed more missiles struck, this time at the Shayrat air base outside Homs, where the U.S. launched 59 missiles a year ago. Confusion ensued, showing just how jumpy the Syrian military is right now. Syrian state TV blamed Israel and the U.S. for an electronic attack causing the false alarm. The Pentagon was forced to issue a statement last night. Quote, "There are no U.S. or coalition operations civilians in that area of homes. We don't have anything additional to provide. Fox News has learned deception did play a key role in the strike against Assad's chemical weapons facilities over the weekend. U.S. officials say Assad's forces never saw the Allied missiles on their radar. Shep.
Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. A quick commercial break, and then I'll speak with an analyst who says while the strikes did send a message, they were also just a proverbial slap on the wrist. She'll explain why that is next.
For over 200 years, the stock market has been going up and down like a roller coaster. And it seems like everybody is giving you advice on what you should do with your retirement money. But most people just want to earn a reasonable rate of return and keep it simple. Is that what you want? Get your investor's kit and learn how to never lose money when the market goes down and earn a reasonable rate of return. And on the DVD, I'll personally explain how it works. You decide if it's right for you.
Call 800-557-7379 or tyjyoung.net.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ware.
And I'm Terry Ware.
And this is our Sears hometown store. We always wanted to raise our family in a small, tight-knit hometown community. When the opportunity to own a Sears hometown store became available, we jumped at it. And ever since, we've been a family-owned business.
The Speed Wash features best-in-class 3,200 PSI cleaning power and puts pressure control right at your fingertips. Dial it up to blast away the toughest stains. Dial it down for a more delicate wash. The Speed Wash system includes 3 cutting-edge cleaning tools. The Power Broom cleans decks and driveways up to 4 times faster. The Turbo Nozzle blasts away grime in half the time. And the Soap Blaster soaps it up faster. And right now, for a limited time, you can have all 3 of these game-changing tools for free.
To get the complete Generac Speed Wash system, call 1-800-796-1018. Free shipping is now in effect, and right now, for a limited time, you can get all 3 cleaning tools for free. Speed Wash models start at just $349. Order online at GeneracSpeedWash.com.
Looking back, you've seen some amazing things. And looking forward, there's so much more to come. That's why VSP offers individual vision plans, coverage you can buy on your own, because retirement shouldn't be the end of vision care, but a new beginning. VSP gives you affordable access to trusted eye doctors in your area and gives you the lowest out-of-pocket costs on necessities that traditional Medicare doesn't cover, like glasses, contacts, and specialty prescription lenses. This makes regular eye exams more affordable, trusted eye doctors more accessible, and ensures that prescriptions, like Progressives, are done right the first time. For lifelong access to eyewear and eye care, put your trust in the same quality coverage employers offer and learn more at VSPdirect.com or call 888-8-BY-VSP to see better for life for less.
Thank you, VSP.
Another live look up on Capitol Hill, where we're waiting to see whether lawmakers will speak to the news media after a briefing on the crisis in Syria. In the meantime, let's get some analysis from Alina Polyakova, a fellow in foreign policy at the Brookings Institution. Her specialties include Russian foreign policy and political warfare. Good to see you.
Good to be back, Shep.
We had the strike, more than 100 missiles and strikes of other kinds. We saw the before and the after pictures. What is the effect thereof in your estimation?
Well, these strikes were absolutely surgical in nature. They were precise, they were targeted, they hit the targets the U.S. wanted to identify, and the Syrian so-called counterattack didn't even touch any of the U.S. missiles or the warplanes that dropped that were in there. So from a military perspective, this was a very clean operation. From a strategic perspective, this strike was very restrained, and we don't really know what comes next. You know, if we remember, this is the second time this administration has launched missiles labels at the Assad regime for chemical attacks on civilians. And there's profound evidence that this kind of chemical attacks are constantly ongoing on Syria. This was not the second time. There's maybe dozens of times that this has happened. And we don't know
Elena, pardon the interruption. I wouldn't do it for anything except those who were in the briefing about Syria have just come out to the microphones. Let's listen.
A statement to justify the rationale, the legal authority for the attack on the chemical weapons facility. First of all, let me make it very clear that the use of chemical weapons is horrible, should never have happened. However, the justification that came from the White House essentially would justify this president and any other president to conduct an act of war on any country, anywhere in the world.
Punishments, and we're going to hit your facilities.
Breaking news now. That's the wrong one. We want to go to the President Trump availability. We weren't sure this was going to happen. All of a sudden, here's President Trump live. Let's watch.
Representatives look right out of a movie. You're absolutely perfect. So I think that's very nice. I'm very impressed. But it's great. It's great to have both of our representatives with us. こういうふうに立派な代表の方々がこちらに並んでいらっしゃるというのは本当にまるで映画の場面に見えます。本当に完璧です。皆さんありがとうございます。We're talking North Korea, we're talking military, we're talking trade. A lot of progress has already been made, and as you know, we've been discussing these things for weeks and even months prior to this meeting, which truly we'll call a summit, and we've made a lot of progress. 本日は北朝鮮または安全保障または通商問題についてたくさん話すことになります。すでにたくさん進歩が出ていられていました。過去数週間、過去数ヶ月ですでに話し合ってきましたが、今回のこの立派なサミットでよりいい成果を出すことはShinzo and I have developed a very close relationship. We speak all the time, and our nations, I think, have never been closer than they are right now. 私と総理は非常に親しい関係を作ることができました。いつも頻繁にお互いに相談して話し合うこともあります。本当にいい、かつてないほど米日関係は親しいもの、近いものになりました。So, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for being with us. そういう本日来ていただいてありがとうございました。先ほどすでにロナルドと台北で北朝鮮の問題また経済について相当深い話をすることができました。So prior to this longer discussion, in one-on-one setting, we already had a very in-depth discussion focusing on the issue of North Korea and also the economic issues. それぞれ非常に重要な点で認識をさせることができたことを嬉しく思います。And on those two points, we actually successfully forged a mutual understanding. So I'm very happy to see the outcome of our one-on-one discussion. 北朝鮮の問題については、歴史上初めて米朝首脳会談が予定されています。On the issue of North Korea, for the first time in the history of the world, there will be a summit meeting between the United States and North Korea. その前には何度も首脳会談が行われるわけでありますが、ピョンチャンオリンピックから起こったこの大きな変化はまさにロナルドが確固たる信念と決意でこの問題に対峙した結果だと思います。And also prior to the U.S.-North Korea summit meeting, the summit meeting between South and North Korea is being planned to take place. And since the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games in South Korea, we have observed major change in terms of the North Korea's behavior. And background of this change is Donald's unwavering conviction as well as the determination that you demonstrated in addressing the issue of North Korea. So your stance made it possible to achieve this major change.
headline is there will be a summit between the United States and North Korea. The president says it will happen sometime in early June, if not before, or we'll see what happens. The final bell is about to ring on Wall Street today, and we're green across the board this afternoon. Tech stocks leading the way. Transportation issues. Southwest Airlines on today's incident down 2%, but get this, Netflix up 8.5% on the session. If only we had known. The news continues now with Neil Cavuto on the Network America Trust for news and information on cable. This is Fox News Channel.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto reporting to you today from the Senate Finance Committee room in Washington, D.C. This, as they say, is where, well, I guess you could say the sausage is made. It was here that the biggest tax cut in American history was cobbled together. It went along party line support, all Republicans for it. Of course, not all Democrats for it. In fact, not a single one. And that has become a dividing political issue in this town. But we thought that this would be an august backdrop for this on tax day, to keep in mind that the revenues that are raised are at a record level. In fact, close to $3.4 trillion comes into the coffers of Washington, D.C., and this year will be a record for that. A lot of Republicans are saying thanks to the tax cuts, we'll see even more revenue next year. It's probably a little too soon to tell. This much is not. The raging political debate is now, a year later and a year from now, how those tax cuts will be seen by the American public. It will be the political issue, and a hot political issue at that. I'm delighted to say, just a couple of minutes away from talking to the man who orchestrated all of this in the United States Senate. I'm talking, of course, the Senate leader, Mitch McConnell. Look forward to chatting with him. In the meantime, as we give you this backdrop in this room that has been home to so many huge American financial events, an opportunity now for us to say how this all went down today on tax day, where we had the IRS having some problems in getting returns filed on time. In fact, they had to reboot their system to put up with that demand today. I understand Mike Emanuel, who follows all this for us here at the Capitol, in record numbers. Michael.
Neil, good afternoon to you. Welcome back to Capitol Hill. House Speaker Paul Ryan today celebrated the fact that next tax day, a year from now, taxpayers will have an easier time filing their returns and will be able to keep more of their money.
Instead of a system riddled with loopholes for the well-connected, you have one that lowers tax rates for everyone at every income level. You have a bigger child tax credit. You have nearly a doubled standard deduction. So you get to keep more of what you earn in the first place. That is such good news coming.
There were some protests today. There are those in the Tax March movement who argue that tax reform should have been about closing loopholes for the wealthy and also for major corporations. Today, they also had some prominent Democrats joining them to make that point.
It's a scam. And why is it a scam? Look at this. They put forth a tax bill that gives 83% of the benefits to the top 1%.
Republicans are selling tax reform, hoping it helps them in the midterm elections in November. Democrats are knocking it, trying to take away a major GOP legislative accomplishment. Neil?
All right, Mike, thank you very, very much. All right, you just heard Nancy Pelosi there, that it is a scam. Cory Booker echoing a theme that Nancy Pelosi used some weeks back, telling a New Jersey audience that it indeed is crumbs for the average person. I have a feeling Mitch McConnell might slightly disagree with that. He joins me right now as my special guest. Sir, very good to have you. Thank you.
Well, 80 to 90% of the American people get tax relief out of this bill. Not a single Democrat voted for it, as you pointed out in your introductory observations. They want to take this to the American people, and we're happy to do that, to see whether the American people think it's a good idea for us to let them keep more of their hard-earned money rather than sending it to us to be spent on whatever we choose to spend it on. I think it really kind of sums up the major differences between the parties these days, Neil. I got a letter from all but three of them before we passed the tax bill saying what kind of tax reform they would be willing to support. And it was all about class envy and wealth transfer. It had nothing to do with actually getting the economy growing. And in the end, of course, even the three who didn't sign the letter didn't vote for it. So it's a clear line of demarcation.
She's calling it a scam. She has promised if Democrats take over that they would do everything they can to gut this, start over again, do something that she argues, others have argued would be fair. Do you feel that everything you and your Republican colleagues put together could be just undone if she and Democrats take over.
Well, not as long as President Trump is in the White House. But there's no question they didn't like this proposal, and that they would undo it if they could. They've already come out for repealing most of it. So I think we're going to have a referendum this fall, Neil, on whether or not people think they're better able to make decisions about their own hard-earned money as opposed to Washington politicians.
But it's a tough sell, right? And you had kind of reminded your Republican colleagues that if they can't make that pitch and sell tax cuts to the American people, they should find another line of work.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hard sell at all.
Well, apparently it is, right? Because it's still not polling well. It's better than it did initially, but under half Americans are polled, I still think it's a mistake.
We're having this discussion with the American people, but in the end, I think, particularly on the Senate side and states like Montana, North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, where we have competitive races, I think it's a pretty good argument to make that we allowed you to keep more of your hard-earned money than sending it to Washington.
All right, now the battle back and forth. Wall Street has been loving this. Companies have been loving it. They've been reporting much stronger earnings as a result of this, Senator. Do you get a feeling, though, that that's getting missed, that something is getting missed, or that this has turned into class warfare, that it did tilt disproportionately to corporations or upper income? How do you counter that, especially when your candidates go to the polls?
Well, on the corporate tax relief, Democrats during the Obama years were for that. So was President Obama. It was only when the president changed that all of a sudden they didn't support lowering corporate rates. And the reason during the Obama era that President Obama was for that is the same reason we're still for it, which is to create more jobs and opportunity, make our corporations competitive in the world economy. We now have a competitive tax rate. We can compete with other countries. That means more jobs, more opportunity for Americans, and it means more jobs coming to this country rather than being set up someplace else.
Nevertheless, you would express some concern about the president's tough trade tack versus the Chinese, particularly on tariffs.